Jim, there was a time early in this season for this Oiler team that they were hopeful to have meaningful games in March and in April. And here in early May, they had their most meaningful. Credit the Anaheim Ducks getting down early on home ice, dug in there, and John Gibson, who gave up 3 on 6 shots in Game 6, came up with a great effort at the end to close the door as well.
Great bounce back night. And for Ryan Getzlaf, one of the finest playoff series he's ever played, and the experience that he and Ryan Kessler showed tonight.
Welcome into Oilers TV playoffs presented by SportCheck. What a season it was for the Oilers. 103 points in the standings, the busiest goaltender in the NHL, the NHL's leading scorer, and they make the playoffs for the first time since 2006. They beat the San Jose Sharks in 6 games. They advance and push the Anaheim Ducks to 7. But unfortunately for Edmonton, that's where their season comes to an end. The Ducks managed to exercise some demons of their own, some Game 7 demons, and they get the 2-1 victory. There you see some of the stats on the night. 30-24 the shots. The Ducks also out hitting the Oilers 39-23. The power play wasn't much of an issue in this one. Only one chance on each side, and the Ducks, of course, as they've done all series long, winning in the face-off dot. The Oilers getting the 2-1 defeat. Their season comes to an end. The Ducks, who had lost 4 straight years in a Game 7 after holding a 3-2 series lead, are able to get the win in this one. They'll advance to take on the Nashville Predators. The Oilers' season, however, comes to an end, and it was unfortunate for them. They got a stellar performance from Cam Talbot between the pipes, 28 saves on 30 shots. He's had a great series. He's had a great playoff run. The NHL's busiest goaltender was in good form tonight early. He had to weather quite the storm in the second period. The Ducks out shooting the Oilers 13-6. In that frame, Talbot kept them in it all game long. Unfortunately for Edmonton, they can't get any more than 1 goal from Caggiula off a lucky turnover right in front, and they're unable to get any more on the night. You see there, Talbot active all night long as the Ducks needing this win. You see it's on Ryan Getzlaf's 32nd birthday. Their star players are getting older. Edmonton's star players are under the ages of 21. So the Ducks, if it wasn't going to be there if that wasn't going to be their year to beat the Oilers this year, they weren't going to do it. So the Anaheim Ducks get the 2-1 victory. The Oilers,
and look at the traffic in front of Cam Talbot again. He's able
to an end. And like I said, what a season it was for Edmonton. Not a lot of people would have pegged them to make it this far even, but 103 points in the standings. Quite the turnaround of where they have been in recent years. They find a starting goaltender in Cam Talbot who is absolutely phenomenal all season long. Connor McDavid starts to show why he's one of, if not the best player in the National Hockey League. There are a lot of things positive for the Oilers moving forward. Tonight is a night to be upset with if you're an Oilers fan, but Edmonton has a lot of good years coming up. We'll have live post-game reaction from inside the Honda Center in Anaheim from the players in the locker room, as well as the coaches' podium as Todd McClellan and Randy Carlyle will be speaking with the media shortly. We'll also go to some of the highlights, but let's run real quick just Drake Caggiula's goal. It was the lone goal for the Oilers in this one. Let's take a look at that one. It's the only one they could get on the night. Drake Caggiula now has 3 goals in his last 4 playoff games. He really came on late. You see him going hard to the net. A dangerous and ill-advised turnover in front by Theodore, and Drake Caggiula is able to get that one. So 3 goals in his last 4 playoff games. Caggiula getting elevated to play with Connor McDavid late in this postseason run, and he showed why. He was a coveted college free agent in the summer, and he came on late for the Oilers. We'll have live post-game reaction coming up very shortly from the locker room at the Honda Center in Anaheim. The handshakes just finished up on the ice. The room is opening, so we'll head to a player very shortly. Once again, the Oilers getting a 2-1 defeat at the hands of the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks had lost 4 straight Game 7s, 2-6 all time, 1-4 on home ice coming into the night, but they're now 2-4, and the Ducks exercising some demons of their own, and they advance. They will play the Nashville Predators in the Western Conference Final. In other action around the league, the Pittsburgh Penguins will advance, getting the better of the Washington Capitals in their own Game 7. So around the league tonight, the Anaheim Ducks get the 2-1 victory over the Oilers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Capitals. Let's go live to Zach Kassian in Anaheim.
Flying, especially this series.
Yeah, it's tough. It stings. Every one of us in here is competitive. Every one of us wanted to win the series, felt we could win the series, and when you fall short, there's no way. Unless you win a cup, there's no way the season ends this type of way and feels good. the only way you're going home happy is with a Stanley Cup, and we fell short of that goal. And saying that, the respect I have for the guys in here is through the roof. I played on a number of teams, and this was a team that you could feel how tight we were, how close knit we were, and it's just tough right now.
That game, just how would you sum it up? I mean, two good teams basically going toe-to-toe for life.
Yeah, we had a good first. They pushed in the second. And then we had chances to score in the third. We just didn't score. Like I said, it stings, but there's a lot to be proud of in this room. It's tough to see it right now. But we're a resilient group in here. I think there's numerous times throughout the year we could have folded. And not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs. And we clawed our way back. It's one of those things. It doesn't feel good right now, but the longer this sits, I think we have to come to realize if you sat us down at the beginning of the year and you told us we would be in this point at this time of year, we would have taken it. It's tough right now.
That was Zach Kassian live from the Honda Center in Anaheim, visibly disappointed, obviously, in the loss for the Oilers. But like he said, we alluded to it earlier, lots to be proud of this season for the Oilers. Not many would have pegged them to beat San Jose and then advance and then take the Ducks to 7, but they did just that. Let's go live to Patrick Maroon back in Anaheim.
But the guys shouldn't hang their heads anymore. Should be a proud group in here. This is an unbelievable group. The things we did this year were truly amazing, and we gave the fans something that were behind us for so many years, something to cheer about, and the fans should be proud of themselves too, certainly as the players.
Hard to appreciate it now maybe, but is there an overall sense that this is a team that's trending upwards? Maybe the best is yet to come for this group?
Oh yeah, the future's bright. The future's bright for this team. The guys should be looking around and seeing what an accomplishment we had this year of, second round and to Game 7 to one game away to going to the conference finals. But this obviously really does sting. This is a heartbreaker. You never want to lose these games. Like Luke said, we had them. We should have won the series before it led to Game 7, but we can't really look upon that. We got to just, give each other some credit. We did a really good job this year.
What does this team learn about itself, especially in the playoffs?
That we're a really good hockey team, and that we can do some damage in the near future. We have some really good players in this room that are game changers and that can take this team to a Stanley Cup and win a Stanley Cup. Obviously we fell short this year, but we got to find ways to have a really good off season. Spend some time with your family and regroup and recharge and know what's at stake next year, because I know we can do it next year. I know we can go just as far next year and not just losing.
That was former Duck forward Patrick Maroon turned Oilers forward. He had an incredible season on McDavid's wing, and he was disappointed in this one. But you saw a lot of optimism for him already looking ahead to next season. This team has a lot of belief in the room. Zach Kassian alluded to it as well, that this is only the beginning for the Oilers. Let's go to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins live at the Honda Center.
Part with him, it just seemed like every time Kessler was on the ice, he was roughing him or checking him or slashing him or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a tough kind of place to be in, but at the same time, I thought he handled it really well, and you can probably take a lot from this series and keep growing as a player and a leader.
Maybe tough to appreciate now, but is there an overall sense that maybe the best is still yet to come for this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's by far this is the most fun, the best year that I've been a part of, and I think the most frustrating part is we were right there, and I mean we know in our group that we could keep going and keep playing, but so I mean I think that's the frustrating part. Despite making a huge jump from the past few years.
And you think how big a learning experience would you say this series especially was for this team?
Yeah, I think moving on here, we can take a lot out of it. I mean, there's no easy games, no easy shifts in the playoffs, and I mean, we battled hard, and like you said, we can learn a little bit from this.
That's Oilers center Ryan Nugent-Hopkins live from the Honda Center in Anaheim. Once again, just like the rest of the players in the locker room, talking about how the best for this team has yet to come. So the Oilers getting the 2-1 loss in Game 7 in Anaheim. They now end their season while the Ducks will move forward to face the Nashville Predators. We'll have more live post-game coming right up here on Oilers TV and EdmontonOilers.com as the coaches will shortly come to the podium. In just a moment, we'll also show you the highlights. We're just waiting around to see if there are any more players in the locker room. The Oilers, quite the theme here tonight after the game. Disappointment with how the season ends, but also knowing there's a lot of building blocks in this room. So let's go live to Cam Talbot. He is standing by.
Good job of that this playoffs.
Your team had a lot of guys that kind of did that as well. There's Draisaitl and Henning, and this was a playoff run where a lot of guys really sort of showed that they're for real and they can be counted on in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you could see how much we grew as a group, but individually we've grown just as much. Leon was a man out there in the playoffs, and he was our best player night in and night out. Benning, like you said, really stepped up a couple games ago when we really needed him to, and you need that from some of the young guys. Drake came up with a couple of big goals for us. I mean, the list goes on and on with the guys in this room, and like I said, I'm just proud to have been part of this group this year, and just had a great time playing behind them.
Thanks, Tom.
That's Oilers starting goaltender Cam Talbot live from the Honda Center in Anaheim. More live post-game reaction coming right up. We're going to Captain Connor McDavid right now.
Between such a dominant performance in Game 6 and then the way it went for you tonight?
Not too sure what it is. I think they were ready to go tonight. We got the start we wanted, but we just kind of sat back after that, and they were able to capitalize on a few chances.
Is it possible for you guys to maybe have the same kind of mixed emotions that your fans will have, like looking forward to how good this team could be when tonight is so fresh?
Yeah, obviously it's going to take some time to get over it. But I think there's a lot of positives we can take from this year. We won't have to answer that experience question anymore, which is nice. Come next season, we'll find ourselves in a similar spot, and we'll be able to look back on this and feel that disappointment and know what that's like and how much it sucks.
How do you think about your game series, or I guess this series, just overall? What do you think? Do you think you could have done anything more? What are your main takeaways?
I'm going to just talk about our team, and we battled hard. Our up and down the lineup, we battled hard. That's a good team over there. I don't think many people gave us much of a chance this series to even take it 7, and quite honestly, we might not have even should have been at 7. So, team battled hard, like I keep saying. It's just frustrating right now.
I know it's hard to take that big picture view, but with what you guys have accomplished this year, is this, you think, in your mind, the start of something special?
Could be, yeah. I think you look at any team that has won and been good for all these years. They start with a disappointment, and we've done that. We took a huge step forward. If we told you that we would have taken the Ducks 7 in the second series in September, I don't think anyone would have believed us for a second. And we managed to do that, and we can hold our heads high about that. But obviously, it's not the outcome we wanted. We believed in this group, and but we'll be back.
Did you feel like you had a tough time finding the time and space that you needed to operate in the last couple of games?
We're going to have Coach go pretty quick here, guys.
Well, I'm going to keep on the theme of our team, and we gave everything we had at it and just came up a little bit short.
That's Oilers captain Connor McDavid live from the Honda Center in Anaheim following his team's 2-1 loss to the Ducks in Game 7. Connor McDavid, he played close to 3 minutes on the final shift as the Oilers were pressing for the equalizer, but they could not get it done. He finished the game with 24 minutes and 45 seconds of ice time. So the captain, Connor McDavid, kept off the score sheet. Drake Caggiula, the lone goal scorer, Cam Talbot with 28 saves. Let's take a look at how this one all unraveled. Beginning in the first period, an ill-advised, dangerous play out in front of the net, and Drake Caggiula jumps all over that one, and Caggiula scoring his third goal in 4 playoff games, in the last 4 playoff games of the Oilers series against the Ducks. This turnover in front, Caggiula going to the net. We talked about that in our pregame show, actually, about how Caggiula can get to the net. And then Cogliano will get the equalizer at 8:55 of the second period, fights his way to the front, finds a loose puck, and puts it in. And then Nick Ritchie, well, he'll get the game winner here at 3:21 of the third period. The Ducks winning the second period battle, out shooting the Oilers 16-3, and then they get the go-ahead goal in the third. The Oilers, however, would not go away, not go quietly into that good night. You see a chance there from Connor McDavid, and then even in the waning seconds, they have an opportunity, but Leon just cannot hold on. Grabbing that feed in front, the Ducks will end up getting the 2-1 win. You have to feel for them a little bit. 4 straight years leading up to this series, they've gone to a Game 7 in which they had led the series 3-2, but they've lost all those series. So this year it was them exercising Game 7 demons. Just unfortunate it comes against the Edmonton Oilers. And then you see Randy Carlyle, the head coach of the Ducks, shaking the hand of Todd McLellan. The handshakes out in the middle of the ice, one of the most beautiful scenes in all of sports and sportsmanship in hockey, the two teams meeting for the handshake. The Oilers getting the 2-1 loss in Anaheim in Game 7. Cam Talbot finished the game with 28 saves. Drake Caggiula, the lone goal scorer. Let's take a look at another game that was happening tonight around the league. Pittsburgh going toe-to-toe with Washington in their own Game 7.
Penguins don't need reminding that they've been outscored 8-2 in the last 4 periods of hockey. The Capitals don't need reminding that the Penguins are 5-0 all-time on the road in Game 7. And none of us need reminding that the NHL's 2 biggest stars in the last decade lock horns with a trip to the conference final on the line.
For the Penguins, this one is stashed back in, and Fleury's rush. He shoveled it on through to Dumoulin. And it's turned back over, and it's saved made by Fleury, and it's scrambled at the front of the net. Still they dig away at it. And the whistle is blown, and play is stopped.
Fleury not quick enough. Kuznetsov in on the forecheck. The shot from Carlson, and it's just an absolute flat-out scramble. Schultz top.
We interrupt those highlights because Todd McLellan is standing by live at the Honda Center.
Two streams of feeling. We're disappointed right now, obviously. We didn't come into the playoffs just to play. We came in to win. I think our team played that way, it prepared that way, it battled that way. So the overall feeling right now is one of disappointment. We couldn't quite get it done. When you remove that and you look at the big picture, our entree into the playoffs was about as good as we could ask. The type of teams that we played, the series that we played in, the ups and the downs. We basically got a college degree in a month when it comes to playoffs. And that experience for us moving forward is going to be very, very helpful. I look around the room when we were done and we had a minute or two together, and the amount of bumps and bruises and scrapes and ice bags and just scrawny, bony-looking players is a good sign for us. It wasn't long ago that we talked about just coming into these buildings during the regular season and trying to survive, and now we can push and compete with these teams. So we're going the right direction. We've done a lot of really good things, gained a lot of experience. And I'm not even going to talk about the future yet because we're still absorbing this right now. But it's too bad we couldn't get one more goal.
Todd, Connor was hesitant to talk about his own play, wanted to focus on the team game more after the game here tonight. Can you just comment on his play in the last couple of games and what you saw?
Connor McDavid's play, thought he was tremendous. Thought he did everything he possibly could. Played 25, 26 minutes tonight. He was our leader. He did many, many things that you guys don't see. There was a little glimpse of it, I think, after the comeback here in Anaheim, where he took care of the team. But there's a lot done for a 20-year-old captain that nobody sees. His play speaks for itself. We wouldn't be at this spot without him and the rest of the team. We learned that we can't just win with one individual. So I thought he was tremendous.
Todd, what do you think specifically Connor learned on this run? Was it fighting through checks like with Kessler and how he hounded him? Was there any other thing that you thought that he could really take away from this?
Well, the Oilers learned a lot. Not just Connor, but the Oilers. And, I'm kind of going to go the way Connor did. I'm going to talk about our team. And, he had to fight through a lot of stuff, and he learned a lot throughout the playoffs. But it wasn't just him. Leon had to fight through that. There were other guys that had to learn to play through injuries, to deal with ups and downs, officiating, all that type of stuff. So it wasn't just Connor going to school. It was the organization.
Coach, when this series started, you mentioned how much your team had learned in the first round of the playoffs. Now that you're through the second round, how much more do you think this group learned?
Well, I think what we did in the second round is we solidified an identity of a pretty scrappy, resilient, never die team. There's still a little bit of inconsistency in our game, but we'll grow up and we'll fix that as we move forward. The one question that I had that I think is answered, we weren't afraid of the stage. Our team wasn't afraid of the stage. We were willing to come out on it and perform. And for an inexperienced team right from day one, that's a good sign for us moving forward.
Todd, what would you say was the main difference from Game 6, where you carried a lot of the play and obviously were dominant in that game?
Our opponent played significantly better. Significantly better. They didn't give up much. They checked. They were well prepared. I think that team has a chance to go on and win. So we can beat our team up a little bit, but we got to give the other team credit. They played a much better game than they did in Edmonton the other day. So I'm not going to sit here and poke holes in our group. I'm going to give them credit because they deserve it.
That was Oilers head coach Todd McLellan live from the Honda Center in Anaheim. We'll go back there very shortly to hear from Ducks head coach Randy Carlyle on his team's series win over the Oilers and 2-1 win here in Game 7. Todd McLellan, touching on several points there, said the Oilers as a team went to school. They got a degree. They went and they learned a lot of things from these two series. A young team overall heading into the playoffs. A lot of the talk was how inexperienced they were. Well, that inexperienced club went toe-to-toe with the San Jose Sharks, a much more experienced team, and they took them to 6 and they beat them. Then they moved on to play the Anaheim Ducks and they pushed them to 7. And in that series, Todd said that they learned to be a scrappy, resilient bunch that could come from behind, that could bounce back from bad games, and they certainly did just that in the series. So the Oilers, let's recap their series against the Ducks in this one. The 5-3 win in Game 1 kind of set the tone for them. They took a 1-0 series lead in Anaheim, and then they won 2-1 in Game 2. Then the Ducks and the Oilers came back to Edmonton, the Ducks getting a 6-3 victory in Game 3 to make it a 2-1 series. Then the Ducks would even things up in Game 4, winning in overtime, 4-3, coming from behind in that game. Then the Ducks would take a 3-2 series lead in double overtime in Game 5. And then the Oilers would bounce back to tie the series with a monumental 7-1 win in Game 6. And then the series would head back to Anaheim, and this one would be a 2-1 loss for the Oilers against the Ducks. And like we alluded to earlier, the Ducks, they had their struggles in Game 7s as of late, 0-4 in their last 4 seasons, and they had a 3-2 series lead each of those years. Let's go live to Randy Carlyle in Anaheim.
Several, and everybody's been talking about Game 7s. Is there a different kind of relief tonight on your end, and how did it go from an overall standpoint, from an emotional?
Well, it was a very emotional game, for sure. At any Game 7 that you enter into, there's going to be emotion, ebbs and flows that go within the game. But again, we talked about Game 7s, and you guys wanted to talk about it a lot more than I did, obviously, because that makes your job easier when you can look at statistics and whatnot and say that we did this or we haven't done that. Well, every year there's a turnover in players on every team. And I think it's totally unfair to categorize every year that players or teams haven't had success, because a lot of the players that were there or are on the lineup now that you're criticizing or challenging aren't even on the team. But again, that's the responsibility that comes with the organization, and we don't shy away from it. We've said that before, and we're not going to ever. We have a responsibility to our fans, and that's the way we treated it. And we worked hard, and we played very well for probably 60 games of the season to get home ice advantage. And nobody can take that away from us. And if it was 2 points difference between us and the hockey club that we battled with in this round, we had home ice advantage. And there's nobody in that dressing room on their side would say that they wouldn't have wanted home ice advantage.
Randy, your players after the game talked about your ability to always adjust during the game. And tonight, you slot Richie up in the top line with Getzlaf and Perry. Just the thoughts behind that.
Well, I thought about it, doing it before, and we've done it. We have done it before. I thought about doing it before the game, but I just wanted to see the temperament of the game and how it was going, and I just felt that the way the Draisaitl, Lucic, and Kajula line had performed, specifically in the last game, I felt it was important to have more size there. That was the only thing. It was about Nick Ritchie's size. Like, Rich is he can shoot the puck, and he's just a young kid that's starting out. But he's a pretty tough kid, and he can score goals. And we're glad he's on our side. But in tonight's game, he made the difference. Now, I don't think it's a genius move by any part. I just think it's, you do those things, and we've done them all year, is move people up and down. We try to usually stay with two. For instance, if it would be Getzlaf, Perry, if it would be Vermette, Richie, or whatever the combination, and then when you make a change, you only change one player off that line.
Randy, you guys, that's a pretty high-powered team that you shut down. You didn't give them many chances. What were the things that went into that? And also, after you got the lead, it seemed like team stayed aggressive, didn't pull back like a lot of teams would.
Well, I think that the turning point in the game for us, and this is only a short window that I've been able to, review what just took place, is that our fourth line went out, and that was Nate Thompson, Jarrett Bowl, and Wagner, and got us a grind shift in the second period. And then every other line after that until the end of the second period followed that up. And we kind of had we had them on the run, as per se. And we were out changing them, and we had some momentum swings, and our crowd really got into it. So I have to credit those guys for their effort and what they did in that specific situation. I think it was about the 16-minute mark, and then we had a real solid second period, and our fans got very emotionally involved in the game, and so did our players. But we did it the right way.
Randy, your team controlled the bulk of this game. I was curious if you could put into perspective how tough of a challenge this Oiler team was to face and match up against, and also just kind of the growth you've seen from an opponent like this from the start of the season to the end, and do they remind you of any other team with some of the young stars that they have?
Well, obviously, if you go 7 games with a hockey club and you lose the first 2 in your building, they've done a lot of good things over there, and they got a lot of talent. They got the most dynamic young player in the league right now. But I think that I would point the finger at you guys for disrespecting our hockey club for the youth that we have. Nobody ever seems to take a look and say, well, we've got 5 or 6 young players in the league. They're just cutting their teeth and making positive impacts into games, whereas on the other side of the fence, there's a plethora of media that comes from the Canadian side, and we understand that. But bottom line is you have 2 hockey clubs that competed very hard, and there's no way that you could discount the effort that their young players and the growth that they had. But I'd like to correct some people and say, hey, we have some young players that played pretty good too.
Randy, Todd was just in here, and he was talking about his team, and he said after the game he looked around the room and he saw a group that was a little tired, banged up, and a lot thinner than when they started the playoffs. What did you see tonight when you looked around your dressing room after the game?
Well, I didn't stay in there that long, to tell you the truth, because I think that the dressing room is their sanctuary, and I know that I've been in our room and we're beat up. We're people have bumps and bruises. I know I get the reports from their medical staff. The playoffs do tend to take a pound of flesh off of every team. And it's always important that you get proper rest, proper nutrition. And we try to sell a program here that states a bunch of different things to play in the NHL playoffs. You're going to have to do, there's 20 things that we list. And we list those and we make sure that they pay attention to them. And they're not going to do every one to the T, but if they could take 10 of them, we could get 50% of it, we think that's a huge, huge advantage.
Randy, you mentioned the youth of your team, and one of your young players, Shea Theodore, had a tough moment on that first goal. Did you address him on the bench or in intermission to
Didn't
talk
say
to him
a word
about
to
that?
him. In this situation, how are you going to say a word? He came out, and in reviewing it, when I reviewed it between periods, he probably should have went out the other side of the net, but he came out the same side as the puck was reversed, and he got caught. And they made a good play and slapped his stick and put the puck in the net. Surprised our goalie, whatever. But as you saw, that one goal in our minds, and that's what our mandate was, is that whatever happens, we're not going to change what we do. And we've been through some ebbs and flows in this series, and you have to credit our players with sticking to the program, buying in and saying, hey, we know we're a good hockey club, and we can play with most teams that we've played against throughout the course of the season. And in the playoffs, if we get into a long, drawn-out series, we think that we can have success. Now, I'm sure every team feels the same way. Now we're down to the Final Four.
And you mentioned the Wagner, Bull, Thompson line, their shift in the second period. They got a lot of time in this game. Was that because you wanted to keep lines fresh or as a reward for their play?
Well, I just think that the addition of their line and the mass that they make up, that they put a temperament on the game that we would not be pushed around. And it was simple as that. I felt in the last game in Edmonton, in a 7-1 game, that there was some issues that we weren't really happy about from a physical standpoint. We were receiving, and we were not going to receive in Game 7.
Randy, there was an interview with Bruce Boudreau and kind of his parting thought on the last 4 years that your best players have to be your best players.
That's Ducks head coach Randy Carlyle, his Anaheim club getting the 2-1 Game 7 victory. They advance. They'll take on the Nashville Predators beginning Friday night in Anaheim. So that will do it for our live coverage tonight and our live coverage from the playoffs, sponsored by Sport Check. Thank you for watching Oilers TV Playoffs presented by Sport Check. In the coming days, we'll have more coverage, more interviews of the Oilers players on EdmontonOilers.com. So once again, thanks for watching Oilers TV Playoffs presented by Sport Check. Good night.
Penguins don't need reminding that they've been outscored 8-2 in the last 4 periods of hockey. The Capitals don't need reminding that the Penguins are 5-0 all-time on the road in Game 7. And none of us need reminding that the NHL's 2 biggest stars in the last decade lock horns with a trip to the conference final on the line.
For the Penguins, this one is stashed back in, and Fleury is rushed. He shoveled it on through to Dumoulin. And it's turned back over, and it's saved made by Fleury, and it's scrambled at the front of the net. Still, they dig away at it. And the whistle is blown, and play is stopped.
Fleury not quick enough. Kuznetsov in on the forecheck. The shot from Carlson, and it's just an absolute flat-out scramble.
Schultz tops it further. Bouncer skips to center. Malkin nicely able to chop it up the wing, moves in. Malkin crosses, and that one was steered wide.
He puts on a break here. It comes back to his backhand. He's got a wide open net, but Hope stayed right with him.
Ovechkin there. Watched by Dumoulin. Got it on back. Shattenkirk a shot save. Rebound poking away at it. Lost to Eller. And eventually it came to the corner as Hainsey arrived. Back the other way. It's brought on by Gensel. Trying to get by, and he's taken out of the play by Niskanen. And it's turned back over to Gensel. Here's Gensel. Beating one across. Score! It's Brian Rust. And it's 1-0.
This puck is bouncing all over the place. Watch the keep in by Ian Cole right there. And now Crosby to Gensel to Rust, and he goes top shelf as Hope is moving laterally from right to left.
Outletted by Wilson, and right back ahead they charge. Working on now is Eller. Put it front, and it's turned aside by Fleury. Gotten by Wilson again. Fed across. Oh, and that one didn't go. Fleury got a piece of it, and it went out of play. 2:35 to go. Spiked away by Schultz, but into traffic. Spinning with it is Kuznetsov. Gave it on a cross. Backhander. Save Fleury. Scramble in front. They're looking all around, and the whistle has been blown.
You see Kuznetsov will dish it off to your down low to Orlov, and you don't see it there, but I don't know how Fleury fought that off.
Penguins have not been there since last year. Oh, right in front. Crosby poked away. Another shot fought off by Holtby. Funneled through, and this one popped wide.
And watch a quick stick right there of Holtby, and then the chance for Jake Gensel. Remember those plays from Holtby.
Fired around by Shattenkirk, directed by Tom Wilson, and floated in front, and Holtby able to scoop that one along after the stop. And turned over again. Hornquist back in. Score! Patrick Hornquist off a turnover, and it's 2-0.
Shattenkirk to Ovechkin. He makes a soft play, doesn't get the puck out. And then Patrick Hornquist with a backhander over the glove of Holtby.
Dealt back along, though, and it can be started up by Hornquist. Nudged ahead now to Cullen. In a 2-on-1 to Hornquist. Couldn't get the shot away, and then Cullen's shot was blocked inside by Holtby. Dropped on across, but right to Bonino, who deals it back down, and Holtby has to come out and swept it into Rowney, and getting a glove on that is Williams.
Justin Williams bailing out his goaltender.
2 seconds and 1, and the defending champions are going to defend still. They're halfway there. Marc-Andre Fleury registers a shutout, stopping 29 of 29. And the Washington Capitals faced with the bitter disappointment yet again of having been eliminated by the Penguins in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
The Pittsburgh Penguins will meet the Ottawa Senators in the Eastern Conference